Okay, so I threw things in a pot and this is what I ended up with. And guess what? It's so good. Let me show you how I make it. So here I have a pot. You could do this in a pan. I'm going to turn on the heat and I'm going to cook some lean ground beef. I typically like to use 85-15 meat to fat ratio. You can use what you like. Okay, so what I'm going to do is add just a little bit of cooking oil into the pan or the pot, because I am working with lean ground beef. If you're doing like 80-20, if you're using that, an 80-20 meat to fat ratio of ground beef, then you're probably not going to need cooking oil. Okay, so I'm just going to break that down. And what I'm going to season it with is a little bit of beef bouillon powder, maybe like a half teaspoon to a full teaspoon. And here I have some garlic, salt, and pepper blend. Here I'm adding some minced dehydrated onion and Italian seasoning. And just break that apart and cook it through. Once the ground beef is cooked, I'm going to add in 12 ounces of pasta. And yes, these are jumbo shells. Typically these pasta shells are to be stuffed, but I didn't want to do that. I had nothing to stuff it with other than meat and some cheese, but I said just put it in a pot. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to mix things up. And now I'm going to add 4 cups of water. This is literally a 1-pot pasta meal. So if this makes you cringe, I'm sorry. But literally, I just need to get dinner on the table. I was so tired when I did this. So just to make sure everything's kind of submerged and mixed. Now to season the pasta water, I am going to add a teaspoon of beef bouillon powder. You could add just a half teaspoon to a teaspoon of salt. If you're using fine salt, I would just add maybe like a 1/4 teaspoon to a half teaspoon. Okay, that's mixed. Now what I'm going to do is add my marinara or pasta sauce. And this is just jar store-bought sauce, 24 ounces. That's going in. And then what I'm going to do is add around a cup of water. And I'm going to give that a shake to get out all of that residual marinara sauce. And that's going into the pot. And then I'm just going to give it a mix. Now, you can definitely use, obviously, the smaller pasta shells. You can use some broken spaghetti in the mix with this. Truly, this is what I had in my pantry. Okay, cover with the lid. You'll want to bring it to a simmer. And I'm also going to be slicing up 8 ounces of fresh mozzarella. That's going to go into the mix. And I changed the burners. That one's a smaller burner, but this one really got things going. Now that it's simmering, what I'm going to do is just remove the lid, and I'm going to let this simmer and gently boil for about 10 minutes. What I'm going to do is add this little screen on top, and that just keeps the stove from getting too messy. Here I have some heavy whipping cream. That's going to go in, and I already sliced up my mozzarella. So it has been around 10 to 11 minutes, and I'm going to give it a mix. By the way, you want to give everything a taste. And you can adjust the salt and seasoning. Here I'm adding a cup of heavy cream or heavy whipping cream and just give that a mix. If you don't have heavy cream, you can add probably like a half block of cream cheese. Just make sure it's softened before you add it in, and you want to make sure it's like creamy and smooth. I'm going to add extra seasoning and then give that a mix, and we're almost there. So at this point, the pasta's almost cooked through, so I'm going to add the cheese on top. So this recipe is kind of inspired by lasagna soup. Actually, if I had lasagna pasta, I would have broken that and put it into the mix because it totally works. So I'm going to add some dried parsley. Here I'm adding some more garlic, salt, and pepper, and some crushed red pepper flakes. These are optional, but it does give it great flavor. So I'm going to cover this with a lid and let it simmer for another 5 minutes. And you'll want it to be at a gentle simmer, so turn the heat down. Okay, so this is ready. Everything's melty, gooey, saucy. The pasta's cooked through, and dinner is ready. And that's kind of what comes together when I throw things in a pot. Not bad. Everything's melty, cooked through, and seasoned well. And I'd like to apologize again for those of you cringing that I just threw these jumbo shells in a soupy, creamy pot of marinara sauce with ground beef. But it tastes really good, and I'm probably going to make it again. Next time I'll definitely use maybe smaller shells or some macaroni. It all works because it's so good. So I hope you give this recipe a try. I hope you like it, and thanks for watching.